Hello, everybody. My name is Amalia Weber. I'm the program specialist here at Rochester Hills Public Library, and I'd like to welcome you to this evening's program, Turtles and Frogs with Dinosaur Hill. Before we get started, I'd like to take care of a few housekeeping details. Firstly, tonight's program will be recorded and available to view about 1 week from tonight on our YouTube page and on the RHPL website shortly after. We ask the audience members please silence or turn off their cell phones before we begin in order to avoid any disturbances during the presentation. Next, we'd like to thank the Friends of the Rochester Hills Public Library and their many fundraising efforts. It's thanks to their support that we can provide wonderful programming like tonight's presentation. Our next program is Cool Things in the Universe, which will be an in-person event on Thursday, August 11th at 7 p.m. You can sign up for that at calendar.rhpl.org. And now, without further ado, please welcome our presenter, Amanda Felk.
I'll turn the mic back on so you might be able to hear me. Wakey, wakey. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Like she said, my name is Amanda Felk. I'm a naturalist at Dinosaur Hill Nature Preserve. I have a very strange background with a variety of different animals. Wildlife has always been my passion, and sharing it with other people like a naturalist does. Think of Steve Irwin on a much, much, much smaller budget, right? All right. I do apologize. It turned out that I could very easily fill the entire time slot just with turtles. So for my frog fans, we're gonna have to do frogs next time. All right. And hopefully I'll be able to get some more special guest frogs by then. But never fear, we've got a very special guest turtle. All right, so there are turtles in Michigan. Who's seen a turtle in Michigan? All right, good job. Yeah. All right, but there are quite a few. This is what we often see when we see turtles, right? So the bigger group within reptiles that includes tortoises in with it is Chalonians. Sounds like you're on a different planet, doesn't it? All right. So in Chalonians, we have turtles. Oh, thought I had something else there. Oh well. All right. So in Chalonians, we have the turtles. They're four-legged reptiles, right? Have you ever seen a turtle with 5 or 6 legs? Not unless you're by a power plant. They're cold-blooded. They're exothermic, so they really need heat to stay, moving around. They have 3-chambered hearts. They have scales, right? Have you ever touched a turtle? Yeah. What did it feel like? Kind of scaly and bumpy. Yeah. All right. And they have cloacas. So everything that comes out of their body comes out one area. That's the cloaca. They have beaks. So here we have a snapping turtle skull, and I'm going to pass that around for the group if you'd like to take a look at that beak. Much like a bird has a beak. So they don't have teeth, just a beak. Different kinds of turtles have different beaks because they eat different things, right? And they have shells. That's the real big one. If I told you to describe a turtle to someone who had never seen one, what would you pick? The shell, right? And shells have different parts. This guy is responsible for a couple of myths about turtles, right? Yes. So if you've ever seen a cartoon like Mario where the turtle comes out of his shell, does that ever happen in real life? No. The turtle cannot come out of its shell. Its shell is actually made out of bone and skin, and it scutes. And also sometimes we talk about turtles being able to close themselves all the way in their shell. So that's only certain turtles. So the bones in a turtle shell are going to be its spine and its ribs. Right? The scutes are these little parts here that on this one are starting to come off a little bit. These are made out of a protein, and it's a protein that we all have. It's called keratin. Anyone know what else is made out of keratin? Your fingernails, our hair, right? So, and then there's a little bit of skin on a live shell that holds it all together. It's kind of a little matrix there. The part of the turtle shell is, the turtle shell has a top part, right? We call that the carapace. And if we look at that, we can see the spine down the center. And if we look at we look at all these lines, what kind of bones do you think those are? Do we have bones alongside our spine that kind of wrap around? Yeah, those are the ribs. So a turtle shell is actually just modified ribs. So I'll pass this around as well. That one is from a snapping turtle. It's one of our largest turtles here. And then the other part of a turtle shell is the bottom part, right? If it's got a top, it has a bottom. This is from a different type of turtle. The bottom part is called the plastron. And so here it's much more smooth, and it still is the rib portion here. So this particular one, and the one that I'm passing around, is one of those turtles that if we look, can close itself completely in its shell. So for protection, there we go, there's the tortoises. All right, so you might notice this type of tortoise might look familiar to you.
He's a person.
Yeah, do you know who that person is? It's me, yeah. So this actually is not a tortoise. Even this one is not found here in Michigan. That was at the Boonshoff Discovery Museum in Ohio. But this was my profile picture for World Turtle Day. Did you know turtles had their own day? World Turtle Day is May 23rd. So I expect you all to celebrate henceforth with turtle cakes. Maybe make some little pecan turtles if you can. All right. And so this is a tortoise, right? Another one of those Chalonians. And we have here, recently my 6-year-old said to me, "Dad, those turtles are playing piggyback," and I knew it was time to have the talk. Son, I said, those are tortoises, not turtles. Because if you're not talking to your kids about herpetology, then who is? Well, that would be me, right? So herpetology is the study of reptiles and amphibians. Right? So here in Michigan, we have one land turtle. That is the eastern box turtle. The one in that picture is named Peg. But the one that I have to show you today is Dozer. So Dozer is a turtle who can't go in the car without having a little accident. Hold on a second here. All right, so Dozer is an eastern box turtle. These are a species of special concern here in Michigan. And so these are the one type of turtle that's found here in Michigan that can completely close itself in its shell. Now, if we look at Dozer compared to this turtle here, and we look at her shell, she does have a little bit of a stunted shell. She was taken out of the wild and raised by people in captivity that didn't give her a very varied diet. Turtles will eat a lot of protein, but they do also need to eat their vegetables, just like we do, right? But if someone gave you only cupcakes, would you eat only cupcakes? If you refused to eat your vegetables and people stopped offering to you, would you stop eating your vegetables? Yeah, right? So her shell's a little bit off. She cannot be released into the wild. The eastern box turtle is also a very woodland turtle. So this is not a turtle that would be found in a lake or a river or a pond. The eastern box turtle has a territory of about a square mile, so they spend a lot of time walking. And so I'm going to take advantage of this time to let her walk around in here so that she doesn't mess up the floor. And at the end of the program, if you would like to touch her on the back of her shell, you can line up and do that. And just use the hand sanitizers afterward. Turtles do, a lot of people do talk about turtles having salmonella in their digestive tract, and that had a lot to do with people getting them from a pet store when they're in very crowded conditions. But it's easy enough to just hand sanitize afterward anyway, right? All right. So this is Dozer's friend. That is Peggy, not related to Peg. And this is kind of what they do. They doze in, right? They dig in. This is how a turtle goes to the spa. So this is getting ready for winter time. They might start burrowing underneath some dirt. This one is in captivity, so she doesn't really need to brumate, but she still likes to practice, right? And then this is what they do look like when they close themselves all the way up. So eastern box turtles actually have a front door on their shell and a back door, so they can close and keep a predator from even eating their tail. Let me get Dozer up here one more second. Forgot this part. So this is just really quickly, I'm gonna spin her up. This is not a turtle's happy time. But when I do, I want you to look at her plastron and you're going to see a line, and that line is a hinge. Right. And that is the hinge to her little front door. If we see that turtle plastron that's going around, that's broken at the hinge. But they have that little line. And that's how they can close themselves up. They have special muscles for that. Now a turtle really should never be on its back because of that really heavy shell and the way that its organs are pressed in there. They can't breathe very well. So she gets a little nervous when I tip her up like that. But I promise it's only for a second. Okay. So then what else do we have in Michigan if we don't have land turtles? Water turtles. Yeah. And only some of them are teenagers. All right, so here in Michigan, we have 10 different species of turtles. We've talked about one so far. The aquatic turtles are those turtles that use water to help them eat. It helps them swallow their food. And so they eat when they're in the water. They spend most of their time in the water, and they come out once in a while to bask on a log or something like that. Because they also need sunlight, vitamin D. It helps them metabolize their food, right? So Michigan state reptile is the eastern painted turtle. Most of us, if we've seen a turtle out in the wild, it's going to be this one. See how colorful it is? Isn't it? No, maybe not in this picture. All right. So over here we can see a little baby one. Eastern painted turtles, when they are this size, they're a little funny. Turtles are usually, their eggs open in the spring and summer. They hatch. But this kind of turtle, the eastern painted turtle, will spend the entire winter in its nest. And then we'll see them at the beginning of the next spring. just coming out. So when a turtle is hatched, they come from an egg. They have a little yolk sac with them, and that gives them food for a while. Plus, they'll start out brumating. And there are different hybrids of the eastern painted turtle, so we check their plastron too. Now this is Archie, and he is a painted turtle. They're much more colorful when they're not in a dark picture, right, with their head tucked away. When we look at their plastron, not really a line there, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So he does not have that hinge. He can't close his shell up. He can tuck his head pretty far back in, and his legs as well, and his tail wraps around, right? Archie is not a baby. Archie was also taken from the wild. One of these days I'm going to map out where I can stand. Archie was taken out of the wild as a hatchling, and someone had him as a pet for 17 years. He should be about 8 inches long, like that one there. But again, a lot of people take turtles from the wild and don't necessarily know the best way to treat a turtle, everything that a turtle needs, right? What a wild turtle needs is in the wild, right? The wild knows what it needs. Archie is a boy, and you can tell with this kind of turtle because he has a beautiful manicure. Boy painted turtles have really long nails. If you've ever heard of animals that fight, the boys fight for dominance, can you think of one? There's a really big famous one that we have a lot of here in Michigan. It's another state animal. The deer, the white-tailed deer, right? They use their antlers and they battle one another. These male painted turtles will also fight for dominance with one another to get the things they need. With their long nails, they'll go up to one another and go like this. So Archie, he's not quite as big as he should be, but his shell is in pretty good condition for having been, not fed properly. All right. And so when I say check the plastron, on the bottom of the painted turtle there, this one's actually called a Western painted turtle, and Archie here is a Midland painted turtle. They're different subspecies. And the reason that we have more than just the eastern painted turtle here in Michigan is because people have been releasing their pets out into the wild, right? So if you get a pet store turtle and you release it into the wild, you might have gotten a pet store turtle that was picked up in Oklahoma. So it's going to be a different subspecies of turtle. And so it just means their bellies look different. The painted turtle, super cute turtle, right? Does anyone have a favorite yet? Yeah, what's your favorite? The painted? All right, let's keep going. See if I can change your mind. One of the most common turtles, it's right in the name there, right? One of the most common turtles. What a lot of people, when I bring out any turtle, or they see a turtle, the first thing that comes to mind is a common snapping turtle. Yeah. Yeah. So this is not a live common snapping turtle. It is a taxidermy mount. The common snapping turtles are our biggest, one of our biggest. There is one other one. I don't want to, but it's the most common big one that you'll see. They can be about 1.5 feet in diameter. They have a very long neck, right? And they have a very long tail. But they don't always. These are babies. I had a chance to help raise and head start these common snapping turtles. They actually were the closest thing to a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle that I've ever seen. They were pulled out of the sewer system at a water treatment plant. So this is Buttons and Zipper. This is what, if we can see this coin here, is a penny. It was about as big around as little Zipper was. And then this was about a year later. They doubled in size. And this is about 3.5 years old. So when we talk about the snapping turtle, a lot of people want to say that they're an aggressive and vicious turtle, right? But I just want to show you this too. We're just going to postpone that for a minute. So here we have a snapping turtle. Excuse the glare. Like I said, turtles need sunlight, right, even when they're in captivity. So this is our snapping turtle, and this is a painted turtle. And they are sharing a worm, just like Lady and the Tramp. So snapping turtles are they're not this awful, beastie creature. They're just very, very defensive when they're on land, because we've seen some plastrons, some belly scales of other turtles, right? Look at this one. This is all a snapping turtle has. If the other turtles are wearing a sweater, this one is wearing a tank top, right? He's just got that little cross, just a little plus sign for a plastron. And our turtle shells, both sides of them, are what give them protection, right? So if you're not as well protected, if somebody could get to your belly pretty easily, would you try to defend it? Probably, right? But that's definitely one way that we can tell if a turtle is a snapping turtle or some other type of turtle. Another way is that their tail is very, very long, almost as long as their shell in most cases, even when they are little babies. Look at how long those tails are, right? They're very much a prehistoric dinosaur. You do want to be careful not to get bit. No turtle bite feels good, I can assure you of that. Right? You also, a friend of mine who's a turtle rehabber, made sure to remind me that you also do not want to get your finger caught if a box turtle is closing itself. It's an owie. It's a big pinch. Here's our other really big turtle here in Michigan. I got to see one of these once in the wild. It was amazing, but they spend most of their time down in the sandy bottoms of rivers and lakes. So I was really lucky to see it the one time. This is a stock photo from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Even my friend Morgan, who has worked with turtles extensively, has not been able to get a picture of a spiny softshell. They don't really have scutes like the other turtles do. Their shell is really, really rubbery. And on the bottom, they still have more plastron than the snapping turtle, but it's not quite as thick as the other guys. And then the stink pot. The stink pot. Why do you think he's called the stink pot? What do you think? Because sometimes he stinks. Yes. So he's also called the common musk turtle. It's the smallest turtle here in Michigan. They only get about 5 inches, so this is an adult turtle. They have a really bad smell. It's one of their defenses, right? So kind of like a skunk in the turtle world. And so what he'll do if he feels defensive is he will release a musk, a bad smell, and try to get away. And he will bite too, yes. I think it's a size thing. So these guys also, since they are so small, they're smaller than a lot of the other turtles, they spend a lot of time down at the bottoms of rivers and lakes. You won't see them come out to bask as often, and they'll try to eat other things in other places so they don't have to compete. They also change what time of day they come out to eat. So these turtles are the dusk and dawn type turtles. While most turtles are eating all day long, these guys wait until the last minute or before everyone else gets up. They're the early turtle gets the worm, I guess. Now this one is actually a threatened species here in Michigan. If you're ever lucky enough to see a spotted turtle, there's not very many. You'll notice a lot of our turtle species here in Michigan are called species of special concern. And what that really means is that for a long time, nobody really paid attention to how many turtles there were, right? So common snapping turtles, they're common. Why would we count them? So when you go 20, 30 years later and you're like, I haven't seen a common snapping turtle in a while, you have nothing to compare it to. So a lot of times the DNR will call it a species of special concern. Now this one is the spotted turtle, and this one they have enough information to say this species is really kind of in trouble, right? So this is a protected species. You can't just take them out of the wild. They have lots of really cute little yellow dots all around, found in rivers and lakes that are kind of slow moving. This one is a common map turtle. So the common map turtle is another really big turtle, can be even bigger than the snapping turtle, right? About 20 inches around. And most of the time how you'll see them is over here. These turtles are bigger, so they can be found in some of the faster moving rivers and lakes, and unfortunately in some of the faster moving traffic too. This is Shauna Dithit, and she is a map turtle that went into a wildlife rehabilitator because she had been found on 22 Mile Road. The person that picked her up and brought her in actually saw the person who hit her, and they saw that they were aiming for her. So she took her to a veterinarian at first, and the veterinarian said, I can euthanize this turtle, but there's no way, she'll get back into shape and be able to go back into the wild. And one of the things that turtles, when they're out on the road, what they're doing most of the time is looking for a place to lay her eggs. So she did lay her eggs at the woman who found her house. That woman took her home and was trying to find a place. The nature center I worked at the time, I was able to bring her in temporarily when the woman had cared for her and cleaned her up. And then I gave her to a licensed wildlife rehabilitator who knows way more than me. We got her into a 300-gallon pool, and it took about 6 months for her to get her muscles back. And she was released into the Clinton River just this past summer. So it took about 2 years. And her shell, it'll always have, because the bone was actually cut, so the shell will always have some scar tissue there, and it'll be a weaker spot. But it's better to live out in the wild and take your chances, right? So the map turtle does have a very colorful kind of head that you don't really see when you get this view. But all in all, this is the better view. All right. Instead of turtle gel. And then we have a controversial turtle. How can a turtle be controversial? Let's see. The red-eared slider turtle. Have any of you ever seen one of these in a pet store? Yeah. Have any of you ever been tempted to get one? Right. So the red-eared slider turtle is on the international IUCN list of one of the 100 most invasive species. It goes into new areas, it's released into new areas where it outperforms any other turtle It's very adaptable, so it's got that for it. Here in Michigan, there have been some red-eared slider turtles found in our fossil record. So we're not sure if this turtle is really truly native to Michigan or if it's been naturalized, if it's been released as pets or food. Because we do know that it was here before the first European contact in the country. So it was here in Michigan at that time, but if the indigenous people were trading for food or for pets, and they may have brought up some red-eared sliders too. All right. And then we have semi-aquatic turtles. So these are turtles that spend most of their time in the water, but they also come up on the land, and that's where they can eat some extra vegetation. And these are turtles that, even though they spend a lot of time in the water, they'll come and they can actually swallow when they're on land. They can still eat, right? There's only 2 of those here. One is the wood turtle. And if we look here, the wood turtle is named. What's his scutes look like? Tree rings, right? Yeah, so this is our wood turtle. And this guy, you can count the rings on his scutes up until they're about 20, that works. But after 20 years old, that doesn't work as well. It's a nice way to keep from aging, right? The oldest you could be is 20. So wood turtles are a very muscular turtle. They crawl on the land and in the sea, or the lakes and rivers, not the sea. We don't have that in Michigan, in the wetlands. Right. So wood turtles are always very, very exciting to see. There is a great story that you can read. There's a series of books by David M. Carroll that in one of them, this gentleman walked different swamps for 20, 30 years. He walked in the same swamp every year, and he would come across the same wood turtle every year. And he knew it because it was missing a leg. And that turtle lived for 20, 30 years with 3 legs. And then he came across it after 27 years or so, and it was missing 2 legs. And he still came across it for another few years, like about 5 years or so, with 2 legs. It's crazy. And then the other one is another species of special concern. This is the Blandings turtle. So the Blandings turtle looks similar to the wood turtle in the shell, but it has this really, and it can look kind of like a spotted turtle too. Sometimes it has, sometimes it has little yellow spots on the shell as well, but it always has a yellow throat. And these guys are adorable. All right, they start out really small. This is one, that's my hand right there, that's my thumb. This is one that my friend was radio tracking, right? And if you're ever wondering why you can't see a turtle in the wild, why you haven't been able to find all of these turtles, do you see the turtle? Yeah. It's a little difficult though, isn't it? Yeah, so remember, this is a tiny little turtle the size of my thumb. If you're walking past that, are you going to be zoomed in to that little area? Probably not. Yeah. So these are much more like a land turtle. than most of our other turtles because a Blandings turtle. We're not going to touch this one because he is a special concern species. But if you see on his belly there, he's got a line, he's got the hinge, but he's a water turtle. So this turtle, they actually have a little hinge. They can close themselves up in the front. And their shell will be a little bit bigger and heavier. That's kind of a problem for them too, because that means that when they're babies, it's harder for them to swim. So they have a little bit of a trouble adjusting and becoming a turtle. So he is, since he is such a valuable species, he's actually not at Dinosaur Hill. He is at a wildlife rehabilitator called Ellie Mae Fly, who's actually local to this area. And she's giving him a little head start.
Yes, she is gonna get it. So cute.
All right, so those are Michigan's 10 turtles. Pretty sweet turtles. Does anyone have a new favorite? Anyone have a new favorite? Or do you still like your favorite one the most? My friend, who is the painted as their favorite? Do you still like the painted the best? Not the little baby Blanding? Come on. All right. So those are turtles. Whoosh. Now, I want one. They're so cute. They're so cuddly. Keep in mind, if you do want a turtle as a pet, most of these species of turtles will live at minimum 40 years, up to 120. The oldest box turtle on record lived 138 years. So, and for that entire time, they need all of these things. So we need to have UV lights. And UV lights, you need to replace the bulbs every 6 months, because even though the bulb hasn't burned out, it's not giving off UV anymore. It needs a basking area. If you've got a water turtles still need to be able to bring themselves completely out of the water. On a floating log, a turtle dock, something like that. They need calcium added to their diet, whether that's a cuttle bone or some powdered things that you can sprinkle onto their food. They need a balanced diet. Now this is where I get very upset with pet stores. Pet stores sell turtle pellets. They sell turtle pellets as though every turtle needs the same pellet. Right? So a lot of the turtle pellets that are out there have too high of protein. They don't have enough vegetables in them. So you can be thinking, well, I bought turtle food. It's what a turtle should eat. But the turtle food isn't made for Michigan turtles. It's weird. It doesn't have, it's assuming that you're giving vegetables or something. I don't know. And you also need to make sure that you're checking on their shell. You're feeling their shell, right? So when we have the shell out, you want to do a complete check and feel the shell if there's any soft spots. And if there are any soft spots, then you give them a nice salt bath and dry dock them, which means you put them without access to water for a few hours every day. This turtle is not a Michigan turtle, but he's so cute, and he's one of my favorite turtles I've ever worked with. Look at that smile, right? This turtle, when I started working at the place I was working at the time. This turtle's shell was completely black. It had shell rot, which is a bacterial infection. So much so that they couldn't tell what kind of turtle it was. So they had it mislabeled as an Asian pond turtle. It's actually a yellow-throated pond turtle. It doesn't get half as big. And actually it is an endangered species in the area that it's native to. These ones were from the pet trade, so here in the United States it's not considered endangered because there's actually more of them as pets than there are out in the wild where they come from. All right, filtration. If you don't want salmonella, you need to invest in a really good filter system, one that's got about 30 gallons or more per minute going through. And space. So even our little musk turtle, 5 inches long, needs about a 40-gallon tank to have everything that he needs. And then we talked about longevity. So my friends that are in the under 5 foot club here, how many of you know that your grandkids want a turtle? Right? It's something you have to think about. If you still really, really, really want a turtle, and I can't dissuade you, and you're willing to give them all of these things for a long time, I strongly urge you to rescue one. There are people calling trying to rehome their red-eared sliders every single month to every single nature center. If you really want a turtle, I'd be happy to pass your name on to the next person looking. All right? They are really awesome animals, and I'm glad that I get to work with them, but they're not for everyone. I don't have them at home because I know working at a nature center, after I'm gone, the nature center continues, right? And then some of our troubles for turtles. Habitat destruction and the fragmentation. So a lot of times they have to cross the road to lay their eggs. So that is not just harming the turtle that's crossing the road if they get hit by the car, but potentially their eggs as well, if the turtle doesn't manage to lay them. The pet trade, people are still collecting them from the wild just to send them off so that they can become stunted and not so happy. But on the plus side, what we can do is we can help them, right? So we can do all of that standard saving the earth stuff. We're gonna recycle, reduce, reuse. We're gonna go to nature areas. We're gonna go to zoos. We're gonna go to nature centers. We're gonna go support turtles. We're gonna look at turtles. We're gonna tell people how cool turtles are. And definitely, not try to hit them with our car or anything like that. And if we go out fishing, clean up any fishing line, any litter that we see. And if it's safe to do so, we don't want you to get hurt, right? But if it is safe for you to, and you see a turtle crossing the road, maybe give it a hand, right? So we always put it in the same direction that it was headed because it knows where it's going, and it's just gonna turn around if you try to put it on the other side. And we just put it on the other side of the road. It'd be really, really embarrassing if you thought that was a water turtle and you put the box turtle into a lake and you're trying to help it, but it just goes blah, 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 right? So we don't necessarily want to put turtles in water, just put them across the other side of the road. We're going to rehome our existing pet turtles instead of buying from pet stores or taking them from the wild. Awesome. All right. I thought I had something about. And again, so my friend Sarah is a licensed wildlife rehabber who specializes in turtles. So if you do happen to come across one that has been hit by a car, and it's safe for you to pick it up. She lives in Oxford, so it's fairly close to here, and a wonderful thing to do to help turtles out. Great. Awesome.
So would we just contact Dinosaur Hill to get to her?
You can just, the DNR has a list of wildlife rehabbers. You can just search Ellie Mayfly. She has an organization on both Facebook and a website. And there's also another great website that I like to use. It's what I've suggested for all the people answering phones at every nature center I've worked at. It's called Animal Help Now, because sometimes people just call the first nature center that answers the phone, and so it's not necessarily someone that's closest to them. And so with Animal Help Now, you can search by zip code to find, and you can search by animal. So no matter what animal you find, if it's in trouble, you can search for the place that's closest to your house that might accept them. There's no guarantee, because there are definitely not enough wildlife rehabbers out there in the world. It's a very thankless job. Often it's baby animals every 3 hours for no pay. But I am very thankful for those of them that we have. All right, so that is the presentation part. Now I can take any questions. I'm going to put the stuff up on the table here, and if you would like to pet the box turtle on the back. We don't pet anyone on their face, right? That's just rude. We learned that about COVID, right? Yes, ma'am.
You showed the one soft-shelled turtle.
Yes.
We call them spiny. And I grew up in a pond in creeks. We had snappers, and we called them leatherback turtles.
Yes.
And I'm assuming it really was the spiny, because that's the only one you showed.
Yes, yeah, so the spiny softshell, common names, there's a bunch of them, but I'm not going to come up here and start talking Latin in front of people, right? So leatherback is another common name that has been used in the past. I try to stay away from that just so I know it's not a sea turtle that I'm talking about.
Oh, well, I'm gonna- I learned something new.
Awesome.